Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm your host today, Lala, international real estate agent, and today we're diving into a difficult yet urgent conversation. A young Black man, Javion Magee, was found dead under suspicious circumstances in Vance County, North Carolina, with a rope around his neck. While authorities have been reluctant to call it anything more than a suicide, his family and community are raising serious doubts. This is not an isolated case. Historically, we've seen countless incidents where Black men's deaths are prematurely ruled suicides, despite clear signs pointing toward foul play. Now, today we're asking, how much has really changed? Are we witnessing a continuation of racial violence from America's past in modern times? And why do cases like this still happen in 2024 with little or no accountability or transparency? We're definitely going to unpack the implications of this case, explore the deep historical connections to lynchings, and discuss why Black death continues to be dismissed by the law enforcement and the media. What needs to change for Black men like Javion Magee to receive justice? Now, the following topic that we'll be talking about on this episode may contain some very serious things that could affect you. We'll be talking about suicide. We'll be talking about self-harm. We'll be talking about lynchings. We'll be talking about a lot of things that could affect your mental health. So please be aware to take care of yourself. And if at any time something you can't take, just switch us off for a minute, take a couple of deep breaths, and then maybe come back to see us later. And today, my co-queens are joining us. My beautiful co-queens are here with me to help me because this is a difficult subject. We have Athenas Gardner, our CPA and wealth coach. We have Erica Lewis, author and Faith in Transition. And we have Marlo Layson, our TV and film producer. All right, guys, we're going to kick this off, but we are going to start off with the video that actually started the reason why we're hearing about this today, because this had happened and it wasn't being picked up by media. So this is a family member who is calling for our assistance, and let's sit back and hear what she has to say.
Hey y'all, I would have never thought I had to make this kind of post on my TikTok, but my family desperately needs your help. This is my little cousin, Javion Magee. He's from Chicago, Illinois. He was 21 years old and would have been 22 in a few weeks. He was found hanging from a tree in Henderson, North Carolina yesterday. He drove trucks, so that was his reason for even being out there. The police officers are trying to say that he went to Walmart and purchased a rope and hung himself. We obviously don't believe that, and we are just asking for your help to push his story out there. This isn't covered on any local platforms. No news stations, radio, none of that. So we're trying to push it out there. We really need your help. The police officers in the coroner's office are giving us a hard time, not allowing his mom to identify the body. At one point, they told her she can't identify the body due to COVID. And then the next day, today, they told her the father has to give her permission for that, which he said that he would. She asked if they could send her pictures at least. They told her yes, and then turned around and told her, oh, I don't think that you want to see your son like that. Come on. Like, this is just very devastating for my family, and we really need to push this story out there. So if y'all could please repost this video, keep saying his name, Javion Magee, hashtag justice for Javion, and we are going to fight for him, and we are standing behind my cousin 100%, and they're not getting away with this. So please share this video. Thank you.
And that we will continue to say his name, Javion Magee. And this is one of the reasons we wanted to cover it. We want to take this time on our platform because this is a part of our community, and we want to make sure that we get the word out. Because to be honest, if she didn't do that TikTok, we wouldn't have heard about it right now. And that is extremely concerning. We know that in the past, a lot of times people have had to cry out for some type of media attention when these cases have happened. And this isn't the first time. So I'm going to pose a question to you, Queens, but I also want to hear our family, our viewer family, what your thoughts are on this. And what I want to know is, what is your first thoughts when you first heard about Javion Magee's death? Do you think the family's suspicions of foul play are justified? I certainly do. But I'm going to start with you, our queen. Erica, what is your first thoughts on this?
I actually did see this a few days ago. I think it was maybe almost a week ago, and it's disturbing, it's troubling, but there are so many unanswered questions, because I do know that if he was a truck driver and he drove, whether he drove with a company or if he drove independently, there's always a tracking, especially for the merchandise that he would be transporting. So I don't understand how the trucking company or whoever he was working for, no one has any track of him. No one can keep up with, where he started, somewhere in the middle, and how he just ended up on a tree. And we are just not safe. We have gotten to a place where we are comfortable. And I think we need to wake up and have a clear understanding that we are still not recognized in the eyes of some folks as free. And we need to be extremely safe, because this is extremely difficult to understand how this young man at 21 years old is determined to have committed suicide or unaliving himself, which I doubt very seriously if that was the case.
I have to agree with you. The circumstances around this whole thing and how they did find him, it worries me to the fact that how are you going to say that he did this to himself? That seems absolutely physically impossible. But once again, they have always tried to do this. They've always tried to mask it and give excuses to the family. Do they not really realize that we know that these are excuses? And this family is speaking up loud and proud. They're not going to let this go away. So, Athena, what are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were, where are the attorneys on this? Where is Ben Crump when you need him? Like, what is going on with this case? I also thought, I was like, it sounds like they're trying to cover up something, because especially with the video from the family member, it just seemed kind of iffy as the reasons why they did not want the mother to identify the body. First, it's COVID. Then it's, we don't want your son to look like this. And we all know that this happened in the South. Now, the South is known to have a lot of racial incidents, injustices, lynchings, and that is a history. So all things are pointing towards a cover-up. I am glad that this is getting the recognition and attention that it needs, because clearly everyone thinks we have moved past a certain point in history, having Barack Obama and now Kamala running as president. But we need to understand, regardless who is sitting in what seat, that as a collective, these are issues that we face.
I agree. Now, another alarm, I won't just say alarm, because the whole thing to me is an alarm. Everything that was actually said to the parents, everything that was actually done, absolutely every sentence was an alarm. When you're telling me I can't see my son, because I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm going to put myself in her shoes as a mother, how would I want to react, and what answers would I want done? The answer of you don't want to see him that way tells me you got other things that you don't want me to see. And it's plain and clear that you don't want me to see those. Marlo, do you agree with that? What was your initial thoughts on it?
I think initially when I saw it a couple of weeks ago, like Erica said, maybe. And of course, it was shocking to me. And I immediately started to look and see, one, are we being alarmed by nothing? Because things like that happen in social media all the time. So I did my due diligence. I did find one station, a CBS station that covers I believe like Birmingham and parts of Mississippi, maybe. They had reported on it. And so I read a little bit of their reporting, but they didn't have much, because when a suicide happens, media doesn't report on it, right? You'll see murder-suicide, right? So if someone is killed and then someone kills themselves, that's reported because the homicide is a partnership with the suicide. But typically, unless it's a celebrity or a notable person, because there'll be public curiosity about how did this person die. If it's a suicide, we just don't report it in the media. So but also determining this as a suicide so early, or the sheriff's office saying so early what it was, before there's a coroner's report, before there's a toxicology report, before there's anything to prove exactly what caused his death, is a little bit premature. And I think that they have contributed to the confusion that's going on in the public, and the concern that's coming from the family that's then spilling out into the public, and then creating more confusion. But like Erica said, we're not safe, and due diligence is very necessary as you move about the cabin, Black in America, particularly Black in Southern America.
I can say that, you know how we hear things, we hear, okay, driving while Black in America, shopping while Black in America, working while Black in America, anything that we do in America, we are in danger of. And that's what's frightening. That list never ends because it's everything that we do. I'm going to address a couple of the comments that we have received. Big Mac, we're very appreciative of you being here. Again, you're here all the time. We love you. And it says, I see the FBI is now looking into the case, which I think should be happening, because now they're going to probably put that into a hate crime situation, which is federal. Am I right on that, Marlo? Okay, I wanted to make sure I did that properly. Armando, once again, you are here with us again today. We appreciate you. This is exactly why I believe all Black men should not only train in some forms of martial arts, but also practice your rights to bear arms, women included. I have to tell you, I'm not afraid. I am a woman who has a right to bear arms, and I do so. Khadijah says, what's up with the Sheriff Brom? How can he say with certainty that it is not a lynching just because they were reportedly no knot or noose in the rope? And that's what I did want to address, because that is actually what he said. He said there was no knot and no noose, so therefore it possibly could not be a lynching. Well, lynchings happen many different ways. It doesn't just mean the traditional way that you think. And finally, this comment here by David says, David Thornton says, when I first heard about this Javion Magee case, it immediately reminded me of the Tamon Blair case in Fort Wayne, Indiana in 2019. Y'all, I didn't say 20 years ago. I said 2019. Both were 21-year-old Black men who were truck drivers. And, you know, I think this also kind of dispels the myth that we know that the South is the South, good old Dixie, you know, but let's not blind ourselves into thinking that Kentucky is not huge in it, that Indiana is not huge in it. Those are the states that I grew up in. And I was told many times by my mother, you don't go into these certain counties. And she meant that with her whole heart, because they were very active with KKK. And we lived that close to it. And that was in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's not just the southern states. If you are just joining us right now, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today we are talking about something heavy. So we're trying to at least give you a little energy, but to be honest, you know, some of these topics are very heavy for all of us. So if you don't want to miss an episode, you want to make sure that you text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948 so that you don't miss an episode at all. And also, if you would like to be a guest on our show, we would love to have you. All you have to do is email us at info@realvirtual.net. info@REELVIRTUAL.net. We would love to have you. So I do want to talk a little bit about historic lynchings. Historically, lynchings were a form of racial terror used to suppress Black communities. Is the lack of urgency and transparency in investigating suspicious deaths of Black men today a new, subtler form of racial control? And I'm actually going to throw that to you, Marlo, because I know that you do a lot of research and you know a lot of history about this topic, especially. I think we all are pretty educated about it because we are in this community. But do you really feel like now this is still going back to some kind of being subtle and the fact that they're not reporting this?
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, the more, this is kind of the counter backlash of inclusivity and DEI and all of those things, right? Is there's always going to be a faction of people in this country who believe that it's their place to keep Black people in check. There's always going to be a mindset in this country that believes that there is that believes in the caste system of the United States, right? And that white people, white men particularly, are here, and everybody else kind of comes somewhere down there, right? And I think that the attitudes persist because some people believe that that's just the way that it's supposed to be. And we have this rhetoric being passed down, and people are thinking that because the KKK robes are gone, because people aren't saying the N-word publicly, that things have changed. It's just gone underground, right? It's just gotten a haircut. It's gotten an Armani suit. It's dressing like a Wall Street banker now. And so it just looks different, but it's the same old game. And I think that historically, if you look at a lot of even civil rights leaders, they would do this and pretend that someone shot themselves because the civil rights struggle was so overwhelming. If you look at small counties in the South, I'm learning here in Shreveport, where I live in North Louisiana, that things like that were going on. This was actually one of the most racially segregated cities in the South. And it's the northernmost big city in Louisiana. So it's like, it's an evolving creature, this racism and this racial hatred in this country. And I think that we're just seeing the pendulum swing back. And this is what is in the again of the Make America Great Again right now. I don't want to insert too much political stuff into this, but these are the attitudes that we're forced to confront in Project 2025. These are the attitudes that we're forced to confront when we have people saying, oh, you're a DEI hire, right? That's the new affirmative action, the new civil rights. It's constantly evolving. And I would say nobody needs to lull themselves to sleep in this country thinking that they can just run around and enjoy a certain level of safety, because you got to keep your head on swivel always.
I agree. I really agree. I don't feel safe a lot of the times. And I think that is an issue. If you talk to most of people in our communities, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We always feel like we kind of have to look over our shoulders at all time. And especially in some states, more states than others, I will be very, very honest. In Florida, I was constantly looking over my shoulder because people didn't know what I was. And sometimes they would say things to me thinking that they were speaking to their peers. And then when I go out to the parking lot and I see their cars and they have all these flags and go back to your own country and stuff. And these are the same people that were smiling in my face in the store thinking that I was safe. So I feel like we all feel like we have to look over our shoulders at some time or another. Erica, from 1877 to 1950, there were over 4,000 documented lynchings of Black people given in the United States. Now, given this history, do you think incidents like Javion Magee's deaths are modern day lynchings disguised as suicides? And how should we confront this painful legacy? Because there are a lot of people right now that are saying, we don't do that anymore. The lynching thing is not, that's not a thing anymore.
It is very much a thing, whether we are lynching someone's character or whether we're lynching their bodies. Black men are at risk. They are at risk. They're not being heard. They're unsafe, and they're systematically being eradicated yet again. These are young African-American men. We saw a case here almost 6-7 months ago where a mother was looking for her son, could not find him, and they buried him in Potter's Field because the police had run him over, and they said, oh, well, we didn't know who he was, but his medication, his prescription, and I think ID was found in his pocket. So it goes to show that young Black men are a target. It is an effort to erase who we are so that we are not reproducing. We do have an immigration issue, and I think politics is a huge conversation in this, Marlo. I think you're correct. We need to have this conversation because we are really being replaced with people coming into our country, and they're whitewashing our history. This is something that has been happening to us over and over and over again. We are still not considered to be a full human, just a third of a human, or one drop of blood makes you a Black person, even though you may look otherwise. I mean, it is just absolutely ridiculous. And we have to start paying attention. We are distracted by so much. We are distracted by the current election that's taking place, when there's murders and lynchings that are taking place in our backyards, and we are absolutely clueless. Another thing that I really want to highlight is that there are still sundown towns that are within the South, and even not just the South, but here in the North. I live in Jersey, and there are sundown towns in New Jersey where areas you just don't want to go. I personally had an experience driving to South Jersey. This was a few years ago. I had a training, and I was so South Jersey until I saw sheep. I didn't know we had sheep in New Jersey. I learned that day. When I got finished with the training, I said, you know what? I was about an hour away from home. I said, let me fill up gas. Let me just fill up. I get to the gas station, and I had on a uniform shirt, and the guy says to me, oh, okay, you work with them. Yeah, you should hurry up and get out of here. I'm going to fill up your gas tank. You make sure you go straight down the street, and the Parkway entrance is going to be 3 blocks down to your left. He made very clear, because it was 4:00 in the evening, and it was wintertime, and it was definitely getting dark. So we need to really be aware that our young people are not aware of these things, of sundown towns, and of you can't always just pull over, and everybody is just not your friend. Our young people are not aware of this. And unfortunately, this young man, was a victim to, just unknowing.
Which bothers me, because I feel like there is a huge disconnect of our children understanding what our parents and our grandparents have gone through. I don't know why our children don't have that connection, why we're not discussing that with them in our homes. Because there is a huge disconnect about it. It's like, to them, it's like, oh, that was history. But when you look at it, baby, it's a blink of an eye. I am 54 years old. I often get up and go, how did I get here? I'm 54. I'm not 54. I don't feel 54. I don't feel like I've been here 54. But,
Amen.
Time, right? Time just moves. Time moves so fast. But why are we not teaching our children the real dangers of this? And what is it that they are getting the disconnect about until these stories come along? And then even then, a lot of them are like, well, that's never going to happen to me. But we're seeing that it's happening to them all over. Athena, I wanted to ask you, because you had a good point. You said, are modern lynchings targeted more toward men than women? And when we think about Sonia Massey and those underneath her as well, many others, because if I tried to name them all, we wouldn't have an hour show. We would have 2-hour show, okay, or 3-hour show, or 4-hour show. So do you think that Black men are being targeted more than Black women, or equally so?
Well, I think Black men are definitely being targeted more for lynching, because when I think of lynching in particular, and obviously I don't have any stat or anything that points to this right now, it's always a man in my mind. Like it's hard for me to visualize. I'm sure women did get lynched, right? But it's usually for me more of a man in my mind. But Black women are also being targeted. But from my knowledge, it's been in situations like Sonia Massey, or being pulled over, or those type of situations, versus like lynching. For some reason, I feel like, especially in the South, like when these police groups, and we all know that nationalist extremist groups and racial groups have infiltrated law enforcement, it seems like that is, I don't know if it's a rite of passage, or that is just a thing that they do. That the Black men, well, they've always been doing, but obviously, but it just seems like Black men in particular are targeted for that, in my opinion. But
I think they see our power. They see who's powerful, men, and they do everything that they can to eradicate any kind of power that they have. And I honestly think that's the case. If they cannot destroy us characterly, then they're going to destroy us physically. And I think you're on to something. I think you're telling exactly what it is.
Big Mac just said something that was so profound. He said, if you eradicate the black man, the black woman will follow. And it is truth, because now we are left unprotected. Black women, while we may not be lynched per se, we are the most unprotected people on the earth. We have businesses, we have this, we have that. But once black men are taken out of the picture, who are our protectors? Who is left to defend us? No one. So all of what we obtain, if we eradicate black men, if they are systematically or physically lynched, their character or their well-being, then we are left again exposed, and all of what we work for can be taken away.
I agree. And we finally got a stat that we can share. Historically, black men have been lynched far more frequently than black women in the United States. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, over 4,000 documented lynchings of black people during this period of 1877 to 1950. Approximately 85% of them were black men. So that's why, okay, so I was like, all right, intuitively, I was picking up on it. So I'm glad we got the stat. But what this also points to me is we are in a time where they're trying to erase teaching race and critical race theory in school. We're in a time where they're trying to take away DEI. They're saying that we have evolved. This is unnecessary teaching in this country. Yet we still have these incidents that happen. We still have these racial injustices that happen. And I feel like in white America, they do not want to acknowledge it. They want to erase the foundations of this country, which includes all the slavery and racial injustices. You cannot think about any facet of American society where Black people and slavery have not contributed greatly to that. The fact that we don't have reparations, we should be like having civil war in the streets, right? But for you to want to erase these small concessions that not only good for us, but also for your children to know and understand so they can correct certain things that have happened and to embrace unity. This just shows to me why it's so important that we need these things.
Exactly why they want to get rid of them. All the reasons of why they want to get rid of them. Listen, let's look a little bit about the historical things of lynching. So white Southern identity was grounded in the belief that whites are inherently superior to African Americans. Whites reacted violently to the notion that they would have to treat their former human property, let's get it together, we were human property, we were chattel, as equals and pay for their labor. Plantation owners attacked Black people simply for claiming their freedom. Ooh, that's heavy. Over the century that this racial caste system reigned, perceived violations of the racial order were met with brutal violence targeted at Black Americans, and lynchings was the weapon of choice. Now, I want to say something here. Lynchings were beautiful activities for white people. They made it something that you would bring your families out to, like some freaking family fair. They would bring the babies
after church.
They would bring their picnic at the church.
At the church.
They would be out there. There's this gentleman here, actually, before they lynched him, they took a picture of him showing, look, we're getting ready to do this to him. This is the ugly, nasty part of America. And I think America has to come to some type of reckoning for the massive destroying of people that they have done. You cannot have a solid ground when your ground is shaky. First of all, it wasn't your land. Okay, you came in and claimed it. You said that the Native Americans were savages. By whose standards? They could have looked at you and said you were the ones who were savage, right? Okay, so you built it on that. Then you brought over a group of people to build everything for you, and you take claim for it. And then you proceed to want to kill that community that came abroad and then say they have nothing to do with American history. So the whole thing of slavery, the whole system of America being built, the whole dream of saying we're some kind of American melting pot is bullshit. because we aren't melting anything. We've never melted. We had the illusion of thinking that we were melted, and we are not melting in any kind of way. And if anything, now we are more separated than we were many years ago. We're going backwards. If you are just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you always can catch us, if you don't want to miss an episode, by texting the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948, and you'll be notified of whenever we go live. Now, if you can't join us live, and maybe you just have a busy day, because we understand that, you could take us on the road. All you have to do is download us on Spotify, and you could type in Fly Nubian Money, and you'll be able to hear our episodes there. And then always talk to us. We love to have your comments, so keep the comments going. These questions that I'm throwing out are there for you too, our viewer family. We would love to hear what you have to say, because we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, especially when we are discussing something so horrific as we are talking about today, and how we can possibly come up with some type of solution. I'm going to switch it up a little bit, ladies, because we know the power of social media. And this story was not put out. This story was picked up because of social media. So, Marlo, you are our TV producer. You know about how these things work. So Javion Magee's death didn't receive immediate coverage. So what does this tell us about the value of Black Lives Matter today? And do we have to always fight to have it be shown by getting on our platforms and asking people to continue to share this out?
Yes, yes, and yes. Well, we will always have to fight, because we don't always have a voice in every newsroom, right? I look at some of the places, sister stations, other places, and I check out, the team, right? I go to the website, I look at who's the team. And a lot of times it's devoid of Black faces. And so if you are a Black mother who is saying, hey, something happened with my kid, it may not fall on the right ears, right? Because we all come to the table with biases. So it depends on who that person is that's sitting on the other side of the phone, that's on the other side of that email, the person that's scrolling, right, looking for their story of the day, trying to see what's going on in the town where they live, and they stumble upon this, and then they want to know more. And we're going to always have to advocate for ourselves. Black people have always had newspapers. We have always had media. There's a very old paper in New Orleans. It's one of the first newspapers in the country. It was actually published in English and in French for the Black Creoles who didn't speak English. So we have always communicated our stories, and we're going to have to keep doing that. I would love to say that my newsroom is all inclusive. The beauty of it is I have a leadership position, so I tell the stories that I want to tell. That's not the same. Everybody doesn't have that power where I work, right? And certainly in a space where it's devoid of Black people, it's even less power. So I think that, and then there's also, when you're in the media, right, there's certain things I can't say. If I don't have something that is concrete, for real, if somebody doesn't tell me that, I can't speculate as a journalist, right? The general public can speculate away, right? It's like the police said that he was in a seated position. She said he was hanging. Those are two very different instances. It's two very different instances, right? So I think that we do have to control our narrative, as Dr. Vibe is saying, but we also have to not, I won't say exaggerate, but be alarmist in the way that we tell our stories. You don't need to be alarmist, because why is he dead? That's the question. And if you start there with your digging process, you don't need to be alarmist, because a man who was perfectly healthy, a man who didn't show any signs of any mental illness, a man who was not in distress, his job was not looking for him, he didn't go rogue with whatever he was delivering and dropping off, he was reliable enough to do these hauls from wherever he was, he shouldn't be dead the next morning. So then why is he dead? I want to say before I end this, we've done a great job in America of elevating the police officer far higher than they need to be elevated. It is a great, dutiful service that they do for us, but the police are one step in a complete process. The police are out here to investigate crimes, and that is it. The police shouldn't be telling us, oh, it wasn't this, because you don't know. You're not a medical doctor. So when we start to talk about the medical part, I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from somebody that looked at the body, that looked at the organs, that did the toxicology testing. So I think that we want to give police too much of a platform in the United States, and it has been to our detriment, particularly Black people's detriment, because police get to write a narrative about us that we will never be able to undo. We will never, ever, ever be able to undo the narrative that police have done about us because of the biases and historically why were police even founded in this country, right? So take a deep breath, Marlo, because it is very convoluted. And when you're in the media, you go to the police because you need answers, and the police come to you because they want information out. And sometimes that relationship can get muddy, y'all. And so if you have a thing going on and your family member has done something that you don't believe that they would have done, then it is good for you to get that story out yourself and bring attention to media without being alarmist. So we don't need the extra alarm. We don't need the extra worry, but we do need the stories out there. Absolutely.
This young man's story is giving very much Emmett Till. It is a replay. Emmett Till was from Chicago. This young man was from Chicago. They wouldn't let Emmett Till's mother identify his body at first. They gave her several, if not 100 different stories and versions of what may have happened to him. And even when she was able to claim his remains, they bolted shut the box that he would sit back in. It is ridiculous that we are still in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. The only thing that's changed is the year. The behavior has not changed. And we need our young people to be aware. You're going to have to read. We have libraries in our pockets called phones, and you need to read. They're not going to teach you in school any of this. We want to call it critical race theory. It's not a theory, it's a fact. It is critical what has happened to us, and it's only going to continue because they're going to whitewash things away and pretend it didn't happen. And we have a huge door of migration that's happening, and it's so nice to have other cultures and customs come in. I travel for a living. I love culture. I love culture. I love everyone's culture. However, when you bring in folks who are not familiar as to what has happened here, it can just kind of get lost and swept away. And then we get, just flow. Oh, everything is so great. And then we start living this fairy tale. And then here we are, victims yet again, because we forgot, but someone else did not.
We can't breathe between stories. We can't process between stories. Before we even can get justice for one, we are fighting for justice for another. I don't know about y'all, but my hashtag list is long. It's long. And it's so long that, I've run out of hashtags on social media just trying to post that. And I do believe that if we don't continue to call out these, then they'll always be quiet. And I think social media is the place to do it when we're not getting what we want from law enforcement and our congressmen. I'm telling y'all right now, with my case of my sisters, for those of you who don't know, my sisters were murdered, in my opinion, and I can say that, by a drunk driver in 2023. She was 0.18 over the legal limit. And they tried to sweep it under the rug. If I did not start screaming and hollering out and my family started, they weren't even going to report that in the news. It wasn't until I started hollering and screaming in the news and my family started being very vocal that all of a sudden the news people started picking it up. So if you don't get the justice that you need, and this family is doing the right thing, they're calling out, call your congressmen, call your senators. And I'm going to tell you what, that shit don't work. I'm sorry. I can't tell you how many times I've called and out to my senators and my congressmen and the local councilmen and the blah, 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 and the blah, blah, blah. And I've not had one of them bother to even call me out. So I am proud of this family for continuing to speak out, because I know for a fact from my own experience that they're going to have a lot of doors closed in their face. But if you want my damn vote, I'm going to need you to be doing something. So if they have to call out everybody all the way up to the FBI and the White House, I want them to do so. And I want us to stand behind them in doing this, because if we don't, we're going to be looked over. Like you said, Erica, they're already whitewashing. They're already erasing. We know that. So we have to be the ones who have to be loud to call for justice. Athena, in the light of law enforcement's resistance to acknowledging these potential hate crimes, and I'm not even, these hate crimes that in our communities, how I'm so upset, y'all. I have to rephrase my question. I got myself really too upset. In the light of law enforcement's resistance to acknowledging potential hate crimes, what role should we as the community play in challenging the official narratives? And how do we push for thorough investigations in the face of the long history of being silenced?
That is a good question, Lala. I think we touched upon this, and I think we can even use what this family is doing as a case study. When law enforcement and government officials do not respond, and it is their job to respond, by the way, the next thing to do is to hit them where it hurts, either financially or politically. And I think reaching out to social media, bringing attention to this, and rallying actual lawyers, national civil rights lawyers that can then pick up the case, that can have the infrastructure and legwork to not only bring the publicity that the case needs, but also to prosecute the case as much as possible. I think that is what we can do. And also galvanize your community. You can start where you are, your whole family. You can definitely start a riot. You can protest at the local news station. Wherever the people who are under that sheriff saying that, oh, this is not a lynching because there's no knot in the rope. I didn't know having a knot in the rope was like a requirement for something to qualify as a lynching, but I guess that's what we're going with today. So basically adding pressure on the people who are in these positions to kind of force them to do what is right, and force and have it hit their pockets, have it hit them politically, have it hit them financially. That is all that we can do.
I'd like to chime in on what Athena just said, and I agree with her 1,000%. We have got to come together. We have got to start having our meetings. I mean, our ancestors as slaves, they sat and they had meetings and they had discussions. They knew what Massa was going to do before Massa even executed it, because I heard this one, Sister so-and-so heard that. People came together. We are so divided until we can't even come together and have a real conversation about what is happening with us. And then once it starts happening, we all just start to just scatter and run like roaches and hide. We need to start having those secret meetings. That was what the original reason and purposes were for our church. But we have become infiltrated as a people. I'm going to say it. You love who you love, but when you marry, you divided race, you marry outside your race, and you bring all of these people into the fold of the community who may not mean us any good. Who may not mean us any good at all. They come in and they divide the family. They pull you away from your nest. And now, now you're exposed. And now there's, things on you. And now you can't speak your truth because, hey, they got dirt on you. They planted some evidence. They did this, they did that. Or you did all of XYZ just to look the part and to pretend that you were, who they were, who you married into. We have got to come together. Each community, it is the beautiful thing as to what the different sororities did, and they came together and raised money for the Democratic Party. I will give them that. But we need to start doing that same thing for our communities, because you know what? The Democratic Party or the Republican Party is not concerned about your backyard. They have other things that they have to focus on, but we are living here. And if we don't pull our dollars together and create our own grassroots foundations that can start doing our own investigations and apply pressure on the system, we might as well just hang it up.
I've always said that. I mean, the illusion of a two-party system, yes, we sure fall on one side or three sides if you're an independent, which I am. The illusion is everybody on all sides likes to talk up the political pot. Everybody wants to put a chicken in your pot and make your neighborhood safe. But I have yet to see very many actually go very far in doing that. Not to say that there haven't been steps sometimes that move forward with these things, but to me, in my own personal opinion, not fast enough. So being a part of this community is a part of, let's roll it back to social media, because now this is also a community. You see how social media can be a community for us, how we speak out. So let's look at some of the comments that were given to this family to let people know that we are standing behind them. And this is so true. And Erica, you said it's giving them it till, and someone actually said that to them on their post. But the one that really got me right here is, we are so tired and fed up. This is 2024. Year of truth and reveal. Everything will be exposed. Whoever did this to this beautiful, young, innocent man will not get away with this. Watch how God and his ancestors go to work, sending love, strength, and healing to his family. Yes, we do send a lot of love and healing to his family, but I do worry about how so much gets covered up that it never gets any justice, because I want to mention something now about Breonna Taylor. That's my hometown. That's Louisville, Kentucky. I know everything about that case. I know where it was. I pass it all the time when I go home. And literally, just in this last month, they said that it was her boyfriend's fault. So now these police officers are now getting another opportunity to be let out of the sentence that they were given, because they are putting all the blame of her being killed on her boyfriend. So that worries me about our social media in some ways. I mean, can it work against us? Can it work for us? But they're doing everything they can to fight a little bit higher than what the power that we have. So Athena, do you think that with this social media presence and how we are pouring out our love to this family, I hope that that gives them strength. But do you think that is also an illusion in the fact that it makes it look like we are getting somewhere, but are we really? Before we hear next week, another person has happened and this story takes a back seat?
I always say the internet is its own place, its own universe, because when you step outside and you step into the real world, you notice things don't match up. Okay, everyone who look cute on the internet, you step outside, it looks like a whole other thing. And it's the same in this instance. What I do think social media and the internet is good for is awareness, because without it, I don't know if that family would have gotten the attention it needs if that lady didn't post a TikTok video about her family, right? But social media alone is not going to get the results that we need. The fact that actual civil rights lawyers have picked up the case and can do things in reality is what is going to push this case forward, and hopefully they get justice that they deserve. We still have to remember that, yes, social media is good for us to get a lot of information very quickly, but we also have to be active in what is going on in our community and what is going on in the real world. Who are the people, who are the players that can assist us in these matters and move things forward? And those people are going to be the important people.
I believe so. You know, I just get a little, I feel like I'm living in a bubble sometimes because of the things that I've experienced and compared to what I continue to see. And a lot of times I get disappointed. I would really love to hear more comments from our family or our viewers who are watching. We have some really good comments about how we should be checking into martial arts, how we should be, you know, doing things to protect ourselves. But sometimes I wonder, yes, we do that. Not only just arming yourselves, but also learning. I know Krav Maga, I took that class. But sometimes if you have more than one person who is coming after you, how much good can that do if you have more than one person who is involved in this? And how much pressure do we need to, this is a good question. How much pressure do we need to give to the places like Walmart, who they said that he was there, that he bought the rope there, and that he is a delivery driver. Guys, he actually went there with a delivery. So how much pressure do we need to put on stores of that nature, or people who have cameras around them, to urgently turn those over immediately, instead of waiting for so long before some of them say we no longer have it anymore? I'm posing that question to you, Marlo. How do we need some kind of guideline on how people should keep a certain amount of tape? Because a lot of times they just tape over them. So should we be calling for more videos to be kept longer in these cases and turned over quicker?
Well, we should, because we should be interested in taking care of one another. The reality is, in the United States, you're not going to tell a corporation shit to do with they shit, like, at all. Like, that's just not how this country works, right? And if we get down to the bare bones of it, without a subpoena, you cannot get that footage anyway, right? So then, who has the subpoena? Who's the lawyer? Who gets the tape? What's the process? Because I can tell you now, and if you have a pro-police legislature, they'll go and write a law right quick that says you got to go through the police if there's something to do with a crime and some videotape, right? So I think that the power when it comes to corporations is always in the pocket, right? If you want to put pressure on Walmart, we want a amount of pressure campaign that if something happens in your retail establishment, Walmart, Target, the mall, Burger King, whoever, and we want this footage right away, the only way that you can make them move is in their pocket. So maybe what we should do at the Black People Meet is decide, you know what, until Walmart turns over that footage, we ain't shopping at Walmart. Not online, not in store. You're going to pick it up in your car. You're going to have to drive the extra quarter mile to Kroger. You're going to have to pay the extra $42 if you go to Trader Joe's. But you have to do something other than go to Walmart. We want to say government is not the answer. And then we want government to provide us with the answer. Yeah. This is a capitalist nation. These corporations sit in rooms with people and say, oh, this is what we need, and we're going to bring you this tax money. And then they say, oh, well, this is what we're going to give you so you can give us this tax money. What about us, the citizens? We have the bus boycotts, y'all, don't ever forget. They worked because the city of Montgomery was not bringing in the revenue that they were bringing, that they needed to bring in. And they were going to seriously have to think about cuts in the budget if they didn't come to the table and do something when those workers went on strike and when everybody started walking all across the city of Montgomery instead of using public transportation. So it's always going to be, the pocket is where it hurts. You boycott Gucci for 15 minutes until the new little snake design come out on the bag. Well, that's your problem. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a cute bag, but where's your principles? And the issue is, as a collective, Black people have lost our principles. That bus boycott was a principle walk. Those people walked for somewhere between 11 and 13 months. I can't get my history straight right now. I don't have my dates and facts in front of me, but somewhere between 11 and 13 months, those people walked, or they came up with their own pool rides. They had a plan, they executed, and they ultimately got what they wanted. Was it everything that they wanted? No. But if we think that we just gonna say, Walmart, give us the tape, Walmart will slam the door on you and call the police. Now you need bail money. And Walmart still is selling because your sister went on in and got them diapers because she was already there while you went to jail. So we have to really get serious about what do we want and how are we going to get it.
Listen, I'm a Target girl anyway. So I feel like we can all go to Target and let Walmart bleed the pockets.
But you know, but she brings up a good point. Honestly, I do that too, Athena. I don't shop at Walmart. I don't shop at Starbucks. I don't shop at places that I know for a fact that don't represent me or my community. But the fact of the matter is, when you look down on it, you're always going to find something that all of these places do that we don't agree with. And they put the mom and pops out of business. So therefore now we can't even go to the mom and pops. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And now we're stuck. So we have to pick our poison. I do want to address a couple of the comments that we've had today. Dr. Vibe said, political parties only care about us during election times. We have to care for each other, each of us all the time. We have to care for each of us all the time. I'm telling you right now, I don't even feel like they even care about us during election time, because I'm telling you, Benny, Congressman Benny, ain't even bothered to call me back after reaching him out for 20 times. Had nerve enough to text me personally, y'all, and say, oh, call my office and make an appointment, and then never returned my call. So it's an election year for him too. So I'm not even sure that he's so comfortable with his vote that he doesn't care about that. Are most of the congressmen that way? The way I'm feeling it is. Black
what's the name
Lexicon.
of that Michael Jackson song? They Don't Care About Us. Is that the name of the song?
I've been
that
singing
needs to be our theme song for our Black Party that we need to start. That
Baby.
need to be
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we have to begin standing on business. We have the shucking and jiving and the foolery it's got to stop. We have to begin standing on business, because our families are being wiped out. That young man had a whole lineage within inside of him that was taken away. Just taken away senselessly with no answers. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Keyword, no.
And he was working. He wasn't doing anything.
And he was
working. He was so proud, y'all. He had just got his CDL. They said he was so excited about being a truck driver and a delivery, and that he was really excited about starting to get out there and earn money. This is a young man with a bright future in front of him, and he was just wiped out in the blink of an eye. Where is the outcry? Where is the need for understanding and getting answers that we need immediately? Or because it just bothers me that this was swept under the rug. I can't, my heart can't take it. And there are so many times where I have to just step away, and I'm sure y'all too have to step away and go, I need to take care of my own mental health right now, because if I continue to let this swirl around me, because it's swirling like a freaking tornado, then I'm not going to be able to do anything, because I'll be paralyzed. And this is where we are right now. Black Lexicon says those hateful people then have trained their children to hate quite well. And that goes great with this slide. I want y'all to understand that this slide right here is from 1920. This is a public whipping in Wilmington, Delaware, not a southern state. 1920. This photo was taken from the Library of Congress. So don't you tell me that this was a long time ago, because it was not. If they could not lynch us, they would whip us. Anything that they could do to dehumanize us, they did. They compared us to animals. They fed our babies to alligators. Everything that they could possibly do to hurt and harm our community and make it less, and make people see us as less than human, they did. This is 1920. I did not say 18. I did not say 17. I said 19. And I'm going to need you to let that sink in, because that wasn't that long ago. And I am going to say that my mother taught me very well and showed me the pictures of my grandfather and my great grandfather's backs. And I know what that looked like. And this is why I made it a point to be very poignant in showing my son the same thing, so that he knows that where his history comes from. And Big Mac is right. We need to stop asking, and we need to start demanding. Ladies, this hour went way too fast. And it's been a difficult one for all of us. And we are very appreciative of all our family who have joined us today, who have also had solutions, had thoughts about this and what we could do. I'm going to personally ask us as queens, as well as our viewership, to please make sure that you go and find that video of that family and share it out. You cry out for that family. Cry out like it is somebody within your own nuclear status family, because it is. We all are family, and we need to help this family get justice. So before we move on, I do want to remind you that you're watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't want to miss a show and you want to talk back to us, come on. Just go ahead. All you got to do is text the word Queens, Queens, to 879 848. And you'll get notified of us going live every single day. Now, this channel also talks about how you can build your wealth. So we want to encourage you to make sure to go to our website, flynubianmoney.com. We have a lot of resources to help you get your money right and your money tight. If you just don't even know where to begin, or maybe you might be afraid to even look at where to begin because you think you don't even know where to go. Well, if you don't have a starting point, you can't see the goal line. So we have a lot of starting points for you on our website. And I would love for you to go over there and get started on your financial wealth and your generational wealth as well. A lot of times Black families don't talk about money in their family. So I'm urging you to go to our site, get educated, and teach your children so that they can be educated to move forward within this thing that we call America. So before we end, I'm going to call for final thoughts and ladies, where we can find you. I'm going to begin with you, Erica, your final thoughts and where we can find you.
I'd first, before I give my final thought, I would like to add condolences to the family for all of what they are going through, because this is extremely troubling. I think we need to, as I said earlier, we need to wake up, and there's work to be done. We need to start coming together. We need those private meetings. We need somebody to plan the meetings. Get your church involved, real churches. If you go the mega church, not gonna do it. Find a storefront, rent it $500-800 a month, and that is where you need to start meeting. No infiltrators, no outsiders. We have got to start coming up with a plan. We need to reignite. I'm not sure if the Black Panther Party is the answer, but we need a party of some sort to come together that can speak and represent for our communities. We need these parties together in every Black community across the country, because if they are comfortable enough to do this in the South, it is going to happen in the Midwest. It's going to happen on the Northeast. It's going to happen on the West Coast. It's just going to happen. So we need to come together and get to a place where we're not afraid. We have been walking in fear. We've been fear-mongered, and we just want to pretend like everything is okay because we're accepted to sit at the table. And sitting at the table is just not an option anymore. We need to knock this table over and get rid of all the pieces and start anew. My name is Erica Lewis. I'm the author of Faith in Transition. You can find me at faithintransition.com or across all social medias at Miss Erica Renee.
Thank you very much, Erica. Please make sure that you do go and follow Erica. She's got some excellent information for you. So you want to make sure that you follow our queen. Marlo, may we please have your final thoughts and where we can find you?
Everything that Erica said was excellent. I would love for the Black people meetings to start. So if anybody is doing that, send me your outline and I will mimic it here. I think that parents, I want to say we're in a world where we've seen a Black man as president. We've seen all sorts of change in the world, but the world has not changed that much. Please educate your young people. Please this is not me victim blaming. This is me saying there's a real reality in the United States that is not fair or friendly necessarily to Black men. Protect your children. Inform them of their history so that they understand that their head needs to be on swivel. They don't need to be lulled to sleep by nice communities with people with fake smiles. They need to be paying attention because everybody is not your friend. I want to say get active. Pay attention to what's going on. Know who your council people are. Who do you need to report a damaged street to? Who do you need to report a suspicious vehicle to? We need to get back. Black people used to actually have a book. I wish I had a replica of it. I'm gonna try to find it for the next show, of basically guidelines for how to live in this country. Maybe we have gotten so ingratiated into corporate America. Maybe we got our 6-figure, 7-figure, 30-figure incomes, and we've forgotten the basic tenets of this nation and its unfriendliness to us. So I think that we need to definitely get vigilant, pay attention, and come back together as a community, because we do need one another. And none of these communities that we see advancing, the Asians, the LGBTQ, the Latinos, none of these communities are advancing because people are doing it individually. They're doing it as a community. We got to get back to that because we're the originators, y'all. Nobody else gets rights in this country if our ancestors didn't do what they did 100 and 150 years ago, right? So let's get back to doing what we know is right. If you're looking for me, I'm out here in these internet streets. I make documentary films of information, and I write about laws in the nation and the state. My name is Marlo Layson. You can find me on Instagram. I am Olram Marlo. That's my first name, backward, forward, and an underscore.
Because she got it like that, backwards and forwards. So you want to make sure that you go and follow her. She has a lot of great information and very educated about a lot of things that y'all need to know. So make sure that you go and follow Marlo. Athena, can we please have your final thoughts and where we can find you?
My final thoughts are this. Clearly, this case has shown us that even though time has passed by, a lot of things still remain the same. And we as a community, as Black people, do not have the luxury of not being active in the community and not being abreast of what is going on. So my charge to everyone who has watched this episode today is that on some level, bring awareness to yourself, your family, and start being active in your community and start making changes with yourself and your family first. And I think we'll see positive effects within the Black community. My name is Athena Gardner. I'm a CPA and wealth coach. I help women to confidently manage their finances and live their best goddess life. Economic empowerment is important in our mission particularly, and that is how we are going to enact change. If you're interested in economically empowering yourself or just empowering yourself in general, you can find out more about what I have to offer at wewealthwomen.com. Follow me at We Wealth Woman at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and listen to me on the We Wealth Woman podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Money is power and power is money. Please make sure that you follow Athena. She has a lot of great resources. I follow all these ladies. I stalk them because they're my sisters and they don't know it sometimes. I be all on your pages. And here is my closing thoughts. We've just scratched the surface of this issue, but it's clear that the past still haunts us in 2024. The death of Javion Magee is a painful reminder of how much work remains in the fight for racial justice. Lynching may no longer be a public spectacle, but the threat of racial violence still hangs over the Black community, literally and figuratively. We must demand transparency, accountability, and justice, not just for this case, but for all victims who never received the proper investigation. And I know maybe the family may not see this, but I do want to put the energy out there. I have more than thoughts and prayers for you. I will use my social platforms to help you get justice. I will speak up. I will tell your son's story. I will continue to cry out until something is done. We do love you. We love you here at Fly Nubian Money, and we are going to use our platform to continue to say his name as well. My name is Laura Lala Key. I am an international real estate agent. I specialize in the United States as well as Portugal. And you can find me and all my social media platforms at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. I have a lot of good resources there for you as well. So we want to take the time to say thank you for joining us on Fly Nubian Money. Let's stay vocal, stay vigilant, and continue to push for the truth. We will see you tomorrow, and thank you for being here. We appreciate you all so much. Have a beautiful day. Peace.